Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at noon starts now.
A final push. With 15 days until the election, both major political presidential candidates and their teams are on the campaign trail right here in Michigan. We have the details for you next.
And tracking some rain on your Monday. Wet weather has been moving across the Metro Detroit area. Meteorologist Brandon Rue has the timeline next.
But first, startling surge. The coronavirus resurgence experts feared now appears to be happening all across the country, in fact. Health officials from coast to coast are scrambling to contain the rising rate of infections. Michigan is also seeing a spike in cases as well. The coronavirus pandemic tops our show here at noon. Thank you for joining us. Right now, the state of Michigan's chief medical officer is appearing before legislative leaders in Lansing to discuss the COVID-19 pandemic.
And while Dr. Janae Caldoun could not answer lawmakers' questions about Governor Gretchen Whitmer's executive orders on the pandemic, she emphasized the virus is still a threat and that we are still learning that, well, it has long-term effects on patients as well.
This is not the cold or even the flu in a lot of cases where people just get over it. There's a lot more data coming out about long-term consequences. So people being on dialysis, people having strokes. You've heard about people needing lung transplants. But even if you don't need a lung transplant, there's many people who are having difficulty breathing. They can't quite get back to their normal selves. And quite frankly, as medical providers, we're still learning about this.
And as the threat lingers, troubling data is coming out within the past week. Michigan has seen some of the highest numbers since that pandemic first started.
Yes, and this chart posted to clickondetroit.com really shows you the surge. Look at that big peak we're in right now. The state's moving 7-day average has not been this high since the beginning of April. Mind you, we were on lockdown back then. Grant Herms takes a look at the growing concern.
The concern is that cases haven't been this high since the spring, and while summertime hotspots like here in Oakland County have gotten the virus mostly under control, it's other parts of the state that are now of concern. The state of Michigan solidly in the middle of its third spike of the coronavirus. The state's rolling 7-day average hasn't been this high since April. Michigan is one of 36 states where the virus is making a comeback, with the worst outbreak happening just next door, neighboring Wisconsin, a major concern for health officials who've been sounding the alarm about a worsening trend as the weather turns colder and people head indoors. Governor Gretchen Whitmer echoing that concern this weekend.
This virus is still all across the state. It is growing. The scientists have been telling us the fall was going to be the most challenging time.
Right now, it's the UP and the western side of the state that's driving this latest round of cases. The governor encouraging folks to renew their commitment to COVID precautions to avoid dire consequences.
We know what it's going to take to stay safe, and it's the simple things like wearing a mask and physical distancing and washing our hands. And the more of us that do that, the less likely we're going to see this spike grow uncontrolled and have to close our economy down again.
We also asked Whitmer this weekend how she plans to stem this next wave of the virus with some of her emergency powers stripped by that court ruling and a hostile legislature to work with. She said she's hoping to find some middle ground, but says she knows it's an uphill battle. In Pontiac, Grant Herms, Local 4.
All right, Grant, thank you. This morning, coronavirus cases surged past 40 million infections. This is worldwide.
And this is coming as the presidential campaign is entering the home stretch now, with the election just over 2 weeks away. And a top issue, of course, is the coronavirus pandemic. The United States leading the world in coronavirus cases, as there are more than 8,160,000 confirmed cases here in our country. In total, more than 219,000 Americans have died from the illness. That's according to a Johns Hopkins University database. And across the country, a growing number of hospitals are being overwhelmed with coronavirus patients. The nationwide coronavirus surge is continuing. The country averaging more than 56,000 new cases a day over the past week. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar attributing the recent surge to mitigation fatigue.
We're getting colder weather and we're losing that natural social distancing that happens from being out of doors, and people are getting tired. The American people have given so much. We're seeing mitigation fatigue right now.
The Midwest is struggling to contain the virus. Wisconsin seeing record hospitalizations this weekend and a positivity rate at nearly 25%, despite having one of the lowest positivity rates in the Midwest. Illinois has seen a spike in new cases and hospitalizations in recent days as well.
It is dangerous right now. We want people to wear masks. We want people to socially distance. We need to make sure that we have certain mitigations in place. And of course, we've already opened up much of our economy, but we have to maintain certain capacity limits and make sure that our people are safe and healthy.
Even though the country has seen a sharp rise in new cases this month, Dr. Anthony Fauci is not advocating for the country to shut down completely.
They'd have to get really, really bad. First of all, the country is fatigued with restrictions. So we want to use public health measures not to get in the way of opening the economy, but to being a safe gateway to opening the economy.
Concerns also growing again in the Southwest. In New Mexico, hospitalizations there have more than doubled since the beginning of the month.
We're not succeeding at combating the virus. The virus is now winning.
The governor issuing new restrictions, limiting gatherings to 5 people and requiring establishments that serve alcohol to close by 10 p.m. This as President Donald Trump travels to Arizona today to hold 2 rallies. The mayor of Tucson warning the president must abide by the restrictions in the city, including mask wearing and social distancing. Trump's rallygoers have frequently not worn masks and have not socially distanced.
See, I think that's less an anti-science than it's more a statement.
What kind of a statement?
You know, a statement of strength, like we're strong, we don't need a mask, that kind of thing. You know, he sometimes equates wearing a mask with weakness.
Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't, of course not.
Researchers project more than 389,000 people could die from the virus in the U.S. by February 1st.
Just jaw-dropping. Yeah. We do want to switch gears here and talk to meteorologist Brandon Rue on what has been a pretty gloomy day so far.
Yeah, just taking a look at the skyline there, the Detroit skyline. You can tell, Brandon.
Yes, and really since the last we saw each other on the morning show anyway, we had wet weather moving in, and it's been with us here. Not everywhere. Parts of our north zone have been bone dry. Temperatures struggling with a cool front that came through this morning, and yesterday's rain, this morning's rain, all a part of that front. But temps in the low to middle 40s outside your door as we look live here in Ann Arbor with fairly calm winds, northeast winds that are very light. Last couple of hours of replay here for Live Radar. You can see the showers are dwindling, and that's good news. For now, we likely will see more showers late afternoon into the evening hours, but temperatures struggling in the 40s most of the afternoon. Could see a couple of suburbs, especially north, seeing low 50s briefly as the satellite radar composite shows a little clearing off to our north. However, there are reinforcements. That is snow back through Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. We are not tracking frozen precip. The atmosphere just a little too warm as it comes over Lake Michigan, but still more clouds, more moisture, all moving in from the west. So we'll have another round after a little midday break coming up here, guys. Showers for later today and then touch and go for the next several days. The good news is tracking 70s in the 7-day coming up.
This is October?
We'll take it, right?
Yeah, we will.
Maybe the last time we see temperatures like that this year. Thank you, Brandon. Still to come after years of dedicating her life to helping others, a well-known Metro Detroiter is in the fight for her life.
Yeah, we have her warning to other women. And with 15 days until the election, both major presidential candidates and their teams are on the campaign trail. We'll tell you who's headed to Michigan up next.